At the eighth time is to put him in Gan Eden. It's unbelievable, Father, that the son wanted to kill him, run after him, and when he heard that he got killed, he said, I wish I would die instead of him.
You think it worked? Just by him saying those words? You think that worked?
It's unbelievable.
Go back in the story.
Can I ask you just a question? Why would David Melech want to bring Avodah Zarah?
Oh.
Because we never asked.
Why would he want to do Avodah Zarah? So this is what the Gemara says. It tells Choshiarkim, Yoimru, Melo shekamosh chayav Avodah Zarah. Choshi says, a king like you are going to serve Avodah Zarah. Amar Loi, David said, Melo shekamosh yargenu benoi. People are going to say, a king like him, his son killed him. Better, they should serve Avodah Zarah. People are going to say, this guy served Avodah Zarah? Chai Misa.
Therefore,
otherwise, it will be a Chilul Hashem. He was such a righteous king, and his son killed him. It will be a Chilul Hashem. People are going to say, well, how come God didn't protect David the Melech?
He ruins his name and his. And he ruins his name, and it's a big. It's a more of a Chilul Hashem that he's bringing Avodah Zarah. I don't understand that.
That's what Choshiark is going to answer him. But the Chazon Ish is a more big point. He said, you see from this Gemara that the Chilul Hashem is worse than Avodah Zarah Gelaraya Shvichas Damen. We see that David HaMelech, Chushi is going to answer him. Chushi is going to tell him, listen, you're making a mistake. If you're going to serve Avodah Zarah, you're going to be a bigger Chilul Hashem. But in David HaMelech's thinking, for one moment, he didn't argue and didn't say, Avodah Zarah. He didn't say that. He said, you think you're gonna avoid a Chilul Hashem by serving Avodah Zarah, so people can say, David HaMelech was a bad guy. He deserved to be killed. You're making a mistake, as we'll see soon in the Gemara what he told him. But he didn't say, what do you mean? There's 3 mitzvahs, the strongest mitzvahs. Avodah Zarah Gelaraya Shvichas. No, he didn't say that. We see that Chilul Hashem, there's nothing worse than Chilul Hashem. There's nothing better than Kiddush Hashem, nothing worse than Chilul Hashem. And what did he really answer, which is connected to this week's Parsha? He said, "My time savat Yefas Toyar. Why did you marry a Yefas Toyar? What's the whole story of Avshalom? Why was Avshalom upset? What started this whole rebellion? That's a whole long story. Because Avshalom had a sister Tamar, and Amnon violated Tamar. He was upset because he didn't feel that David HaMelech protected his sister well enough. He went and he killed his brother Amnon.
Wow.
And then the king was upset at him and banished him for several.
Was a son of David.
Amnon was a son of David. So the story was, before we continue the Gemara, that this week's Parsha says, "Kiseitz l'malchama alavecha, nason Hashem alakecha biyadecha v'shavisa shivya, v'risa b'shivya eishes yifatar v'chashakta ba v'lakachta alacha lisha." That if you go in the war, so the Rashi says that the nations of the world, when there's a war, the women dress up nicely because they want to be mezana with the soldiers. Dibra Torah keneged Yetzirah. The Eibusha said that if I'm going to tell the soldiers they're not allowed to sleep with these Goyish women, they're going to do it ba'aveda. So you know what? You're allowed to sleep with a woman one time, but then you have to bring her home. For 1 month. And she cries for a whole month. So when David HaMelech was in war, and there was such a woman.
He took Eshet.
She was whatever, the daughter of a king, Gas. There was a woman. She was the daughter of a king.
In the war.
And in the war, David HaMelech slept with her.
Oh.
He brought her back home. He married her. She converted to Judaism.
Oh.
And next time he was with her, again they had a child. The first child name was Tamar, and the second child, the name was Avshalom. Now, Amnon was from a different wife. Amnon was allowed to marry Tamar because she was born from the seed that came from her father to the mother before they converted. So really, Amnon could have married Tamar, and she begged him. She said, "We'll talk to the king. You can marry me." But he didn't want to marry her. He just wanted to violate her. So Tamar was a Jew, but she was, even though she was Jewish, but she was a Geyoris. Right. And the Gemara. That's why the Gemara says it says that he hated her after he violated more than he loved her before. So the Gemara says that in those days, Bnei Yisrael, with the body of a Jewish woman was different than a Goyish woman. It's unbelievable.
What do you mean?
That all Goyish women had here, besides on the head, here in different places in the goof, but Jewish women didn't. Jewish women never had any hair besides on their head.
Really?
Besides here, long hair on the head, didn't have any. No. And only in the Churban Beis Hamikdash it happened that the bodies of the Jewish women became similar to all the other bodies of women. But it was Eis Hashem Hois Azois Nifloas. It was a pella. The Jewish woman did not have hair besides long hair, besides a sheitel, besides locks, long locks on the head. They didn't have any other hair. So Mistama Mashiach Tzidkenu will come. That'll go back. So you should come home. Tell the women.
They'll like that.
Yeah, you save a lot of
waxing. Is true.
Exactly. No waxing, no nothing. Don't invest in any business that's waxing. Mashiach come, and this is no. Don't invest in that. Don't invest in that. Maybe it'll be for the goyim, but the Jews they don't need it. So because he didn't realize, he thought so. So B'meila he wasn't careful, and he became a krus shofcha. His erva was ripped from her here, and B'meila that's why he hated her so much. That's why the sinah was bigger than the ava. Amnon, who was a brother of Tamar, was allowed to marry Tamar, but he decided not to marry her, to do it in a violent way. His brother was very angry at him, so Avshalom went and killed him. And David HaMelech was now upset, so David HaMelech banished Avshalom, and now Avshalom was upset at David, and that's what started the whole rebellion. Now David HaMelech took it as that this David HaMelech took the whole thing as that it's a way of tshuva. He said that Hashem is paying me back for my sins, and now it's an atonement for all my sins. But Chushiarki said to him, "What did you do? You married a Yefas Toyer." Amar Loi, so David HaMelech says, Yefas Toyer, Rachmona Sharia. A Yefas Toyer, the Torah says it's permissible to marry a Yefas Toyer. Ah, Amar Loi. Rashi he didn't learn the Rashi. If David HaMelech learned the Rashi, everything would be different. Amar Loi, the Rashta Smuchin. You're not Doirish Smuchin. From the Samach, in the next Parsha, it says, Ki Elish ben Seider Umoyder. Kol Anoisa Yish Yefas Toyer, Yesh Loi ben Seider Umoyder. He said, you David HaMelech, we know, Chazal already told us, because we know from Chushia Arki, that you're Medoirish Smuchim. When the Torah puts one Parsha next to the other Parsha, there's no random, there's a reason. So if the first Torah tells us the law of Yefas Toyer, and then if a person has two wives and he hates one and he loves one, and then if he has a son who's a Ben Soyer Moira, so the Chazal say they go in the order. First he marries a Yefas Toyer, then he hates her, and then his son is a Soyer Moira. So you're gonna make a chil. Everyone knows why your son is rebelling against you. You're the only guy that doesn't know. You're gonna serve Avodah Zarah. That's gonna be a chil Hashem for serving Avodah Zarah. Why? They're gonna kill you. If they kill you, everyone is gonna know why you're killed, because you married a Ben Soyer Moira. Memela, you started to hate the woman. Memela, the son started to hate you. Memela, alla gute Sachen broke loose. And therefore your son killed you. Don't worry, so you don't have to serve Avodah Zarah. So David HaMelech listened to him, and David HaMelech went on his way.
Wait a second, so it says that it is allowed to take a woman captive, but if you do this, what will happen?
Yeah, that's what the Torah says. You can do it. But that's where we see the whole thing of the Alter Rebbe and Tanya.
For sure gonna happen.
That's what the Gemara says. That's what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. That we see that some things are permissible, but they're not advisable. That a person, there's certain things in Olam Hazeh that the Eibusher says it's kosher. Just because it's kosher doesn't mean that you have to eat it. A person has to work in the way Kadosh Atzmachim with the Lach to sanctify himself, and even things that are permissible. But this is one of the stories in the Torah that illustrates it. Just because it's permissible doesn't mean that it's good for you. So that's a story in the Gemara. Chazon Ish said we see from here that there's nothing worse than a chilul Hashem. So going back to the question, I think it comes down to a simple thing: Kiddush Hashem, chilul Hashem. So if this family is going to go to another lawyer, they're going to go to another lawyer. So the chilul Hashem will probably be absolute and not avoidable. If a frum person will take the case, maybe they can make the case in a way that there isn't a Chilul Hashem. No Jew is going to jail here anyway. It's only a question of Chilul Hashem and Kiddush Hashem. These people are bent on getting American citizenships. They're not going down to Israel. Whatever happened or didn't happen.
Well, it has to be done through Goyim. They have to go through Goyim to get the.
Right.
Here,
I'm saying. Yeah.
It's a ploy to get citizenship. They can Tel Aviv.
Exactly. But still, these people are bent on doing this. So it's going to be a Chilul Hashem if they take another lawyer, and this is a frum lawyer. He'll understand how to handle the case. So why shouldn't he take the case? If he wants to take the case, let him take the case.
So that answer that
he should take the case, yeah, because otherwise they're going to go to another lawyer. You see the way they're talking. Either they think the story is true or whatever, but they're going to go to another lawyer if this frum lawyer is not going to take the case. They're going to make a huge Chilul Hashem. They can make, it could end up in the news. It's such a, it sounds so
end up
good.
there anyway.
No, not with this lawyer. This guy is a very wise lawyer.
This lawyer will not.
If he takes the case, this is not going to end up. Even if they get citizenship, he's the lawyer. He's the lawyer. He's going to direct them in a way that this is not going to become a public spectacle.
Oh, I see.
Rabbi, question about Ben Sorer Umor. I don't know if I read somewhere that never was a case of Ben Sorer Umor.
Right, the Gemara says, but there's a machloikis about this. Gemara in the end.
How come we said about Avshalom or Ben Sorer Umor?
It's a good question. Yes, a good question.
That's an excellent question.
No, they said he has to eat.
It's an excellent question.
Right.
It is an excellent question.
Yeah. So the Pashtas, the answer is, there's many levels in Ben Sorer Umor. A person can have a Ben Sorer Umor, which is the Ben Soder murder that the Torah is talking about, that could be killed only in these unbelievable circumstances.
He has to eat 12 loaf of bread.
He can only be killed at a certain way.
A person can have Agmas Nefesh of a son who gives him a lot of Agmas Nefesh. So he's not the level of Soder murder who gets killed, but Shalom. Exactly, half.
If somebody's right of somebody, or might say in America, someone's right of somebody, he wants to kill him, you can't go to the police and make a Chilul Hashem.
No, you could. But this is I'm saying in this case,
it's just a ploy.
It sounds to me like a ploy.
Right. Okay, but that's Chilul Hashem is.
Right. Yeah, but to me, really, it sounds like a ploy. So therefore,
the tactic.
Yeah, like you said, he comes to Tel Aviv.
Oh yeah.
Rabbi, I think a few years ago, I think there was, I think even the Bezdin of Kranitz's ruled that in cases where there's abuse, sexual abuse of kids, you should go straight to the authorities. You shouldn't.
I mean, they thought there was immediate danger. Yeah. Okay, next question. A funny thing this summer. They talk about rising anti-Semitism, but wherever I was, and I have several places in the United States, around the world you see anti-Semitism, you see it on the street. But in the United States of America, 4 or 5 times this summer, I've seen unbelievable Chassidim Masaylim. Like, I'm walking in a very quiet wooded place, in a national park, right? And this big burly guy said, "Are you Jewish?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He says,
"You could have thought he's Amish."
He was a grizzly bear.
Yeah, he was. So, and I was there walking with my daughter, only me and my daughter.
Which state is this? Where?
In the state of Maine. Acadia National Park. So he says, "I love Jews. We come from Texas. We support Israel. We'll die for Israel."
Yes,
Unbelievable.
We're very pro-Israel.
Yeah, but the other ones in Texas who believe that the yarmulke is to cover the horns.
So sometimes they're the same people. So I'm in a gas station. I'm filling up gas. A guy comes over. The Bible says there's not one guy, one after the other. There's a Schwarzer, the big dog, and then another guy, like standing in line. I'm not kidding. All my kids were standing next to me, so they could tell you the story. So this guy says, well, the Bible says the one that blesses you will be blessed. So he wants a blessing. So I said, okay, give me your name and your father's name. I write it down. I figured I'll say a kapitel Tehillim for him. He asked me to give him a blessing.
Whoa.
So then he pulls out $20. He says, can I give it for charity? So I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is a complicated sugya. It's talking from a goy.
Is that a problem?
Oh, so that's what I want to talk about now. Oh, so what are you supposed to do? So, but then
Give it to
can
them, but go ahead.
so I said, sure, no problem.
You can take it for.
So I took the $20. So the Sheilos is what?
Who cares
So the Sheilos is about
Could be-
tzedakah. The Sheilos is
like
about
that's not-
tzedakah
could
v'goy.
be-
Okay, Rabbi,
It's not Zona be able to.
The-
That's not Zona enough to use. So maybe
the
it's
Christian charities
a
are the
total
biggest
problem.
benefactors of. I mean, Israel's look at a huge amount of
It's a
charity.
big Sheilah. So this is what I want to talk about. It's a big
Is there
Sheilah.
somewhere Rabbi Eckstein or something? This is in charge of the big Rabbi Eckstein.
There is.
He passed away then.
He passed
Yeah.
away. He was in charge of the big, the
Yeah.
Christian.
67.
Uh,
So you don't know what he did with the money though. That's the problem.
no. The Sheilah is, are you allowed to take tzedakah from a goy? It's a very important Sheilah. It's very important these
They were
days.
korbanos for a guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're bringing up a very good point. So let's
Very
learn it
good.
inside. The Gemara says Sanhedrin. There's two basic
What are you
Gemaras.
saying,
One is
from the
Sanhedrin, base, Lanos and Lochet Hashir, Shaila Mutal Kabel Stock and Megoy, Shuva Isa Sanhedrin. Omer of Nachman, Oichle Dover Acher, Psumam Ladies. That there is people that eat Dover Acher.
What does that mean, Rabbi?
It sounds like pig.
Pig.
The
Chazan.
Apostle Ladies. So Rashi says, what do you mean pig? And if he eats rabbit, he's not. He eats pig. What's the difference if he eats pig or rabbit? So Rashi says it's really a code word. It's not. Goyim are called adovarachet. The goyim are like pigs. Why? Because just like a pig, he's poishet lofa v'averukitor, and the pig tries to tell everyone that he is kosher because his split hooves. The same thing the goyim. They give tzedakah, called tzedakah v'chesed shoysim goyim, like the Gemara says. In Baba Basa, the Gemara says that all the tzedakah, the chesed lumim chased, chatos, called tzedakah v'chesed shumas ha'eloisim and el lisayad. All the tzedakah and the chesed that they're going to do is not to be kind, but it's only for gaiva. They're not trying to be kind; they're just trying to grandize themselves.
Is that from Rav Shimon Bar Yochai?
There's a machlokes the Gemara. I'm not sure if that's Reb Shimon who says it, but the Alter Rebbe brings it in Tanya in the first chapter.
All good.
And it's interesting because Yosef just gave up, by Chasna gave up a book with the encounters with the Rebbe. So there was a person that was becoming a Balas Tshuva, and she had a very, very big problem with this line in Tanya. And it's a pella to me because the Rebbe told her that this line is not just talking about general about Goyim, but Chassidim Masayim are different. So it's not written. The Rebbe didn't write it. Maybe she didn't understand what the Rebbe said, but I'm just telling you, it's a pellet to me. Whenever I learn it, I think it's the Parsha. It means to every guy. The Rebbe told her no, that it applies to all goyim besides Chassidei Yom HaSoil. Yeah.
Now I heard a story from a Rabbi Jacobson, Y.Y. Jacobson.
Yeah.
Once that in the 70s, Satmar Rebbe was sitting shiva for his daughter, I think, and a politician from Albany came around to give his condolences to the Grand Rabbi. And he said, Rabbi, I want to show that I'm a big supporter of Israel. He said, thank you. Please, I told him thank you. So after he left, the Rabbi asked him, what's that first? So he said that he that doesn't support Israel is one thing. A guy doesn't support Israel, and to some extent.
Very nice.
Very sharp.
So that's what Nachman said. That a person that gets tzedakah from a goy is like eating davar acher, and it's possible ladies. If he's doing it in public, if it's private law, if he has no choice, Nabach is hungry, and the goy is standing there. Goy has a soup kitchen or a food pantry, and he's giving out bags of food, and the Yid is Nabach hungry. And there's no other way for him to get the food. He's allowed to stand on the line and take the bag of food. But if he has food in his own pantry, he's not allowed to do it.
What's the reason?
What's the reason? Well, the Machlokas are Rishonim about this. The Yad Ramah says that it's not also really to take. It's just a bizoyan that a Jew has to go to a goy to get from a goy. Just like the Yad Ramah says, if a person, there are people that work in the street, they're very hot, so they take off the shirt. You see workers, right? Men are working.
Right.
So you see that they pull off the shirt and they're working just with pants, right? Apostolatus. Why apostolatus? Is a sin? There's no sin. But the Chazal said a person that stooped down so low that he has no self-dignity, that he could work in the public space without a shirt, you can't rely that he's going to give you a kosher edus. Same thing, a person that walks in the street and eats in public.
Standing.
A person not standing, you eat in your dining room standing, but he's
No,
walking in the
outside.
public.
Like a dog.
Right.
Like a dog.
So therefore we say that this person, same thing this person, a person that could take tzedakah publicly from Goy, so this person has no self-respect, there's no self-dignity.
What about food stamps, which is from the government?
We'll talk about this in a minute.
She was take all food from Jewish
No, we'll talk about this in a minute. That's what I want to talk about.
She was taken.
The other Rishonim say
boxes.
Yeah.
it's not the it's also. Why is it also? As we'll learn soon in the Gemara, different Gemara, Baba Basar. It's an unbelievable reason. Because as long as the Goyim have schusim, Jews are in Golos. It's a karach. You think it's a pshat from the Shimshon Asterapola. It's a Gemara Meforeshes in Baba Basar. As long as the Goyim have schusim, the Jews are in Golos. As soon as the Goyim have no more schusim, it's like a branch. As long as there's a little bit of juice coming to the tree to the branch is standing connected to the tree. But when it gets absolutely dry, you just snap it off and it falls. So the same thing here, as long as the Goyim have a little bit of juice, schusim in them, so therefore they still have domain over the world, dominion over the world, and therefore the Yidden are in Golos. But when when they get dried up, they're going to break. And the Mashiach is going to come.
So, it was a name, it was like 2-3 years ago, there was a whole, the delegation, I think it was Rabbi Edgar Gluck. They went to the Vatican, or Pinson was the Pinson.
Yeah.
And they sang and danced in the Vatican.
Never. But look,
What was that story?
that was something else.
They went to help. They went to ask for the cemetery or something.
But that's depends. I mean, they say that they needed something, but you have to be very careful. You can't give. A goy has a chayiv to do sheva mitzvahs b'nei noyach, and Jews are chayiv to teach the goyim about sheva mitzvahs b'nei noyach. But extra schusim, which are beyond the sheva mitzvahs b'nei noyach, tzedakah is an unbelievable schus, and therefore you shouldn't give the goy that schus. It's an unbelievable thing. Isa b'Sanhedrin, the Gemara says, Ifra Hormi is two Gemaras in Sanhedrin, which seem to be a contradiction. Ifra Hormi is Imei the Shmur Malka. Yo, can you show him? Isa Babasa Daf Chesam at base.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
Ifra Hormi is Imei the Shmur Malka. Shader Arneke the Dinner Lakamed Rabbi Yosef. She sent a packet full of coins to Rabbi Yosef. Amar Leila Mitzvah Rabbi Yosef. She wants it to be used for a big mitzvah. Didn't say which one. I want it for big mitzvah. Use the money for a big mitzvah.
Big for pregnant.
Yosef, Rabbi Yosef, Kamayin, but my mitzvah rabbi. What's big mitzvah? Every mitzvah is a mitzvah. What does it mean? A big mitzvah. Amar Rabbi, and Tony Reb Shmuel Bar Yehuda, and Paskin Tzedakah, Yisrael, Afilu Lapidin Shvuim, Shemamina Pidin Shvuim, mitzvah rabbi. Because we said that even you can't squeeze out of your Yisrael tzedakah, even if it's pidyon shvuim. Mashma, the biggest form of tzedakah is pidyon shvuim. So therefore, when she said mitzvah rabba, it means pidyon shvuim. Then the next Gemara is,
Who's the lady?
huh?
Who's this lady?
She was
A woman?
Yeah, a woman, the kid, the daughter, the mother of a very famous king in that time. Because the Gemara has a lot of stories about Shvur Malk. Apparently, it was a very popular. He was a very strong kid. So his mother was an influential woman. Ifra Horm is Ahmed Shvur Malk. Next Gemara. Shadre Arba Me Dinner Lakamed Reb Ami. She sent 400 dinarim to Reb Ami, but like he didn't accept it. He sent it back to the queen, to the mother of the king. Shadrinu Kamed Rava, she sent it again to Rava. V'kibrinu, he accepted the money. Shalom Malchus, because he didn't want to insult the kingdom. Sham Reb Ami v'ikbed. Reb Ami heard that Rava took the money. He was upset about it. Omar, he said, "Leis lebi yavosh k'tzira teshavarna noshem boatz meidim oisa." It doesn't read the pasuk. It says bevosh k'tzira teshavarna when the bush will be dry. The things will buckle, it will break. So you can't give schusim to goyim. How can he give the schusim to goyim? We're waiting for Mashiach to come. We want the Jewish kingdom. We want Mashiach to come. And the Gemara answers, Rava mishum shalom malchus. He accepted the money because of shalom malchus. Rabbi nami mishum shalom malchus. Eflaginu le'aniyei goyim. And Rabbi was upset because he said, okay, shalom malchus, so take the money and give it to the goyim. Rabbi nami la'aniyei goyim yavinu. The Gemara says the truth is that Ravi gave the money to the poor goyim. Rabbi Ami was mocked because they didn't tell him the end of the rest of the story. Had he known, he wouldn't have been mocked.
If you give it to a goyim, it's a big kiddush Hashem. Look at this Jew giving.
Right, and So Rashi says, and Tosfos agrees, that there's not a contradiction between the two Gemaras. You could take the money from Shalom Malchus and you're supposed to give it to poor goyim. That's if they give the money bestam. But if they say mitzvah rabba, you're never allowed to lie to a goy. It's an interesting halacha. You can't. There is. We'll talk about it another time. If if there's a tolos, a akum, or something else. But to lie, like Chazal say, you're not allowed to tell him. A goy goes into a Jewish butcher shop, and he says, "I want kosher meat." You're not allowed to give him treifa meat, and tell him it's kosher, even though
because of Halacha.
no, because you're not allowed to lie. You're not allowed to lie to the goy.
You're not allowed.
You're not allowed to lie to him. So here, Rashi says that in the first story, if they took the money and they gave it to poor goyim, that would be a lie. She said, "I'm giving you the money la mitzvah rabba." For mitzvah rabba, giving it to goyim, poor goyim is a mitzvah, but it's not a mitzvah rabba. And that's the way it's pasuk in the Shulchan Aruch. Pasuk b'Shulchan Aruch, osel yisrael little tzedakah min hagoy befaresya. You're not allowed to take the tzedakah from a goy in public. V'meinu yochel lichlos b'tzedakah shel yisrael v'einu yochel litla ma'ovid k'chavim mitzina deza muter. But if he can't live from the tzedakah from a yid, and he can't take it from the goy quietly, he could take it even publicly. And the next if is if someone from the government sends to the Jew money, you can't return it because it's Shalom Malchus. You give it quietly to poor goyim. So Mepharshim say it's not really a contradiction. Depends. If it was sent for a specific purpose, you have to do what Moshel says.
Rabbi Pinto.
1 second, just finish the line. That's only if the money goes to tzedakah. And if he gives money for a basic knesses, you're allowed to take the money. Yeah, what are you saying?
Rabbi Yoshio Pinto, but maybe 10 years ago, one player, black player, basketball, gave him $50,000 check and was pictured in the news and all over. Are you allowed to take it?
No, so this is what we're going to talk about now. So there's a few coolest when you're allowed to take it. There's a few times you're allowed to. First thing is, if you give it not for Aniyah Yisrael, if you give it for Beis HaKnesses. Why? The Shach says a simple thing. Why? Because it says, Odom ki yakir meken korban. Chazal say that also goyim could bring a korban. The difference is a goy can't bring a korban chatas, only korban oilo. A Jew could bring a korban that will atone for a sin. A goy can't bring a korban that will atone for his sin. But he could bring a korban oil and the darim and the dovas he can bring. So if you tzedakah, you tatzel memovis. Tzedakah is mechaper. Tzedakah is that whole story. The Gemara is full with unbelievable stories about tzedakah. How tzedakah has an unbelievable koyach to save a person's life. So tzedakah is tatzel memovis. Tzedakah is like a korban chatos. When you give a poor man or you help a yid that's disadvantaged, there's no bigger thing, the bigger schus. So that's like a korban chatas. And that you're not allowed to give a goy. You're not allowed to give a goy that schus. But a korban oila, building a basic knesses is like a korban oila. It's tzedakah. It's not as big as giving help to a poor Jew. Ani Yisrael, it's like a korban oila, and a korban oila goy is allowed to faket.
But you're giving him a schus. You're still giving him a
but that's a schus that is not like over the top schus.
But it's a schus.
If it's a schus, but it's not over the top. Like when a person gives a poor person tzedakah, so we say, like the Gemara says, for example, a story with Rabbi Yochanan, who was a guy by tzedakah, and there came a woman. She asked him for tzedakah. And there was no money. There was no money left in the kupa. So he went home and he found that he had some money. He gave her the money he had, and then he became sick. So the Rabbi Shalom said he was machaya, this woman and her children. He has to live. He lived for another 22 years. So from that tzedakah that he gave. So we see. By the way, this connects. It connects to what we were learning this Sunday. This very complicated sikha, but the word was. The Rebbe says that mitzvahs, that according to the Mishnah that we say every morning in Peah, that mitzvahs have a schar in this world, pay the same by Olam Hazeh. And so the Rebbe says it's not a contradiction to the thing that mitzvahs are only La'olam shekula tov, la'olam shekula oruch. Depends which mitzvahs. Mitzvahs which you help another yid, kibbud avein, milas chasodim. Then these mitzvahs, you oichel pay the same ba'olam hazeh, because we see beferish the Gemara says, Ata chiyes nefesh ani chayecha, that when your son is sick, I'm gonna save your son. So we see that oichel pay the same ba'olam hazeh for this. So this unbelievable schus you can't give to goy, but a lesser schus, which is to give a korban oila, which is giving money to a basic necessity, like giving a korban oila, that you're allowed to give to a goy. That's part. A goy has to do mitzvahs too. A goy has to do mitzvahs too. And a goy has to feed the poor goyim too. But for him to feed a poor Jew is an unbelievable, over-the-top mitzvah, and you can't give him that schus. So therefore, you're allowed to take tzedakah from a goy and give it to build the yeshiva, to build the shul. For the, yeah, you could do not for the food that goes into the dining room, but for the janitor. That's
how do you differentiate?
Usually,
how are you going to do that? How do you accomplish that?
Usually,
you have a budget there, right?
But to give it to Aniyah Yisrael, you can't. But you can give it to an institution like Masbia that feeds Jews and non-Jews alike. But the Krillman asked there a question, which is when the government gives the marshal food stamps. It's a totally different thing. When government gets, government, the United States does not have the din of a malchus.
No.
There's no melech. No. If you see President Trump, you can't make the bracha of a melech on him. We spoke about this.
They're making the clothes.
In the 90s,
Yeah.
I remember this old
Yeah.
actually got it outside.
They went to look at him, but didn't make the bracha. No.
Remember that?
Yeah, they went to look. I wasn't there, but I heard.
Where's
But
this?
they went to see the President Clinton.
He's passing Eastern Parkway.
That yes, but not to make the. They're not. He's a din of a president. Doesn't din of a. The whole government doesn't have a din of a malchus. It's really what it
But
really
they're
is.
guys, though.
There is a concept. There is a concept of a butcher, the butcher's guild, right? There's the Chazal have a din. And we'll talk about this much when we get to another share, because I had an interesting Shiloh lately about someone doing a whole kunst to evade taxes. But there's a concept of a butcher's guild, for example. There's a concept. The older bnei that Rambam says they have boats, right? And all the sailors have a deal that they didn't have. They didn't have the big insurance companies those days. So, but they needed insurance. A boat cost a lot of money. A boat, that's a simple boat today, even it costs $20,000-$30,000. I'm not talking about huge vessels. It's a boat, a fishing boat. You go out to get a fishing boat to catch a couple of herrings, costs you $30,000. Yeah. So was tut man? And if you have a big boat, it's $100,000 going on the ship. So they made a deal. They made a deal with each other that a person that loses his boat, that all the other fishermen are going to get together and they collect money and they're going to give him money to buy a boat. And then there's all kinds of dinim. They say you're allowed to go if he goes far into the oceans where the waters are very choppy. So they say no. The deal. So if he goes 1 inch into that waters and then his boat capsizes, they don't have to give him a nickel.
No deal.
There's like every insurance company, insurance company. They'll say they're going to cover if there's any burglary, but you have to have your windows you have to have cameras. Turns out this guy he bought the insurance, he never put up cameras. So he didn't. You don't have to pay because there's a deal. A deal's a deal. This has nothing to do with malchus, kingdom, not kingdom. It's a deal. It's a money deal. It's a kinyan. There's nothing to do with a kingdom. There's no kingdom. Nothing. This is that there is 20 fishermen, and each one knows that if his boat it gets ruined, that there's no way he can afford overnight to buy a new boat. But then if he can't catch fish, he can't bring home a parnosa. So was tut man. So it's a way of buying insurance. So they all take a deal.
It's like a union.
It's a union, and it's a butcher's guild. It's the same thing here. The New Deal. What's the New Deal?
The Great Deal.
I mean, the New Deal. Don't talk about Roosevelt. Right.
Yeah.
What was the pshat? The pshat is that he was a very rich king, and he had a lot of oitzes from the Zayda and the Elta Zayda. Under the White House, there were stacks of nuggets of gold, and he decided to be very kind. He didn't have a nickel in his pocket. There was a deal. It's a deal that the young people will work and the old people will be able to retire.
Social-security.
And that was a social security. It's not. This is not tzedakah that comes from the melech to his people. There's no tzedakah from the
They pay
melech.
for it.
It's like an insurance company that sits there and pockets a big profit. So it's a union. Elamai, the politicians, the Viola, get a nice salary, and they also get little bribes here and there. That's the whole thing. So this is not a malchus. The food stamps is not that the king, Yoram Hoydoi, Hamelech Trump, Yoram Hoydoi, was so kind that he wants to be mevazvas to give out the gold nuggets that he has collected in Fort Knox, and he wants to give it to the Aniyim in the Medinas America. That's not the way it is. They're taking from one guy and giving to the other guy. They're spreading the wealth. So v'meila, that's b'chlal not in the din of tzedakah. Okay, if you want to, we should do the third Shiloh. We'll try to do it quickly. An interesting Shiloh we have in this week's Parsha. Funny story that once happened. That happens, but it was a Shiloh was asked. There was a guy called his broker. Today it's not such a Shiloh because you go online and you look at your accounts, those that have accounts. But this guy, a stockbroker, he called a stockbroker and he was very excited about a certain stock that he thought was really going good. And he told him to invest $1 million in that stock. Calls him a week later. He says, "No, you bought the Coca-Cola stock. How's it going?" He says, "What?" He says, "What? You never told me to buy Coca-Cola." He says, I called you a week ago. I said you should put in $1 million of Coca-Cola." So let me look at the computer. Looks at the computer. He bought. I'm throwing. It was a story that happened. But I bought IBM accidentally. But you're lucky. When IBM went up threefold this week. So now your 1 million is 3 million. But the broker says now, since I didn't invest in Coca-Cola, there were both from people. I want some profit for myself.
Yeah,
it's not I didn't invest in Coca-Cola. Forget about the Coca-Cola.
My mistake profit.
So the Bemis
What does the broker want? Chelik?
He wants a chelik.
3 million now.
Because of his advice?
Because of his mistake, yeah.
Of his mistake.
So the Shulchan Aruch says like this. There's a din in Shulchan Aruch. Nos and mos l'shluchei liknas nechitim. Bein l'schoida, bein l'achila. Person gives the shliach money and he says, buy $1 million of wheat. Mekano lo yisoidim, he bought barley. He tells him buy barley. He gives him money to buy
Certain thing.
commodities, and he buys the other commodity. He tells him buy wheat, he buys oil, he buys wheat, whatever, different commodity. If there's any loss, the shliach eats up every nickel and penny of the loss. If there's a profit, the whole profit goes to the Mishaleach. The Shach says that that's Shittis, Rashi, Toisves, Rambam, all the Rishonim, but there are two Rishonim who learn not that way. They say you can't profit over someone's money, but you could say you steal someone's car. You sell it, or better yet, that's maybe not even good enough. You chop someone's tree and you make a table out of it, and you sell it. And now you take that money, you invest it. You invested that money, you made $1 million. You still have to just pay back the guy for his tree. The $1 million belongs to you because you're a koina. Now you're a koina of that money. So the shaila is maybe this guy when he was mashana. And so he was kind of the money. Now in other words, he was kind of the chitim. So most of the Shonim say it's not true. He wasn't kind of anything. The money's a pikodin.
He's a shliach.
And he's a shliach.
There was a case here in the U.S. a few years ago, starting in Michigan, the drug dealer, and he bought a lottery ticket, and he hit the jackpot. And he actually didn't get the money. Did not get the money, didn't give it to him.
Why?
Because the money they bought a ticket with was
drug money.
Yeah.
Ill-gotten gains.
I don't know.
The government has a lien on that money. That's all.
Okay. So B'meila, the Shach says there's an unbelievable klal in Dinei Mominus.
Let's finish, guys.
And this is a klal that we will get back to this klal many, many times because it's an unbelievable klal. Just like in every suffix in Yoredeya, suffix deraisa, suffix derabana l'kula. We're going to talk about this klal every fifth Sunday. I mean, you can say, well, because this is negay, and every din in Yoredeya in the Jewish kitchen is that a suffix that every Rav wants to know right away. Suffix deraisa, suffix derabana. Chosh Mishpat is another thing that every Dayan wants to know right away. Is there another? Is there a descending the shita? Oh, that's such a headache when there's a descending shita. We have one shita. There was a psar Rashi there in Zvochim. Oh, you can go great from that. Why? Because the din is that if a person is muhsik, he got the money in his pocket. The Rav says, okay, the din is that you lost the din Torah. He says, why? He says, look, the Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos, the Rambam, the Tur, the Shulchan Aruch, the Shach, the Taz, the Tzos, the Sivas, everyone says you're wrong. Guy says, you and your Shulchan Aruch and your Rambam can take a walk. I found that the Ritva says I'm right. Kimli, that's called Kimli. I found that the Ritva says I'm right. Here, he says to the Rabbi, you see, here the Ritva says the Pshat in the Gemara is different. There's nothing you can do about it. If the guy is muhsik, the money's in his pocket.
Why can't you go Rav?
No, nothing. No, nothing.
Yeah,
the guy comes, doesn't matter. The Rashi, the Tosfos, the Rishonim,
and he only has
the Shulchan Aruch, and doesn't matter. But it has to be a bona fide shita. It can't be that he found that in the journal of the Reform, das is gefunden as Sheilos a tshuva. He has to find a bona fide shita. But he found that the Ritva had a different pshat in the Gemara. It was kisveyad. They just found it.
But he's a das yochid.
Doesn't matter. But because the money's in pocket, he says Kimli ki Ritva. I hold like the Ritva. You can't take the money out of my pocket, and that's the din. That's the din. Kimli ki Ritva. Ich halt with the Ritva. That's nothing you can do. So the Shach says, if the guy is muchzik in the money, he could say Kimli. There's taka two rishonim that say that if the guy bought chitim instead of soidim, chitim, he splits the profit with the mishalayah. So he says if the guy has the but the Nesiva says that's only when the guy had devious plans when he made the purchase.
Yeah.
So he was like a ganav. If the guy could say, the guy has to say, I had devious plans when I bought it. I had devious when I bought it.
Why would he admit that? Why would he admit that?
Because he knows the sugya choshen mishpat. He wants to walk away with.
So devious, he probably doesn't know it.
If he so doesn't know it, but if he says, oh, so you weren't planning to steal b'chlal, so the money stays at Pikodin, so you have no right to that money. So you have no right to that money.
But the geld is in his pocket. That's the most.
So the thing is like this: this guy, the broker, number one, he's not muhsik in the money.
Why?
Because it's not in his pocket. It's not in his pocket.
Oh, yes, he sold it and he got the Rabbi.
No, but it's not in his pocket. It's in a bank. It's not in his pocket.
Bank is pocket. The bank is a pocket.
It's in the customer's account. It's not in his pocket, number one. Number two, he was the chmoida that he made a mistake. He would have to say that you told me Coca-Cola and I invested it in IBM because of gewollt sein a ganev, and I wanted to take your money and I wanted to split the profit, and I'm a big chochem and I knew that the Coca-Cola is not going up and IBM is going up, and I had insider's information and I wanted to be a ganev. Now if he said that and he was also muhsik in the money, that means he had a way to empty the customer's account and put the money, half the money in his account. Yeah, if he said these two things, he managed to take half the money out of his account. And also, he said that I had devious plans, and
why would a person admit guilt?
He could lose his life.
He's incriminating himself.
It's incriminating. It's embarrassing. Well, anyone would not admit guilt.
So it's a
davar sheyafshe. Said nusi lo shchicha.
Okay. So anyway, so therefore,
it's not going to happen.
Okay. So because it's not going to happen, the mishaleach gets all the money and the broker gets nothing.
He gets his commission.
He gets his commission anyway. He gets plenty of.
Thank you very much. We have
The Eibush will helfen. This week we're learning about Bochsas Avia v'Yima Riarach Yomim. The Arizal says that this is talking about the Chaydesh of Elul, that the Yid cries with tears of tshuva. The Rebbe says that doesn't have to only be tears of pain; it can be tears of joy, like Rabbi Akiva. Zolgu Ein Demos, that he saw the Soides HaTorah. He was so because he saw the Eibush. The Eibush will helfen the Taka. In the days remaining to Chodesh Elul, that we should, our eyes should be Zolgu Demos, Bochsas Avia Seima, not out of pain, but out of joy, that we feel that the Melech is Besada, we feel the closest to the Eibishter, and our eyes should be filled with tears, with excitement that we're close to the Melech Malcham Malcham HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Amen.